Good night and welcome to Mindful Life 185. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the 8th of February 2023. Greetings in the name of the Imperial Majesty, says Canute Sigtrigger. Okay, so which Imperial Majesty exactly are you referring to? You know, I regularly talk about this. I not regularly, but I've spoken about this before. I find it interesting how many people who really don't like the whole colonialism and the Queen and those European colonists and all of the evil that they did, and they speak about Imperial Majesty. Imperial refers to an emperor. Sorry, an emperor is the head of an empire. Empires become empires by taking over other kingdoms. So when you're talking about hail the Imperial Majesty highly, just know the context of what you're speaking about there. Yo, though. I don't mind just telling you, you do your thing. Blessings from the sister Isle RL says, well, you're in the right place today because it's Wednesday and Wednesday is Tobago Day. It's Tobago Day, the middle of the week. We live in the beautiful Twin Isle Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and you know, it must be that sometime we must focus on our sister isle also. Being that I am from Trinidad, you know, the Trinidad issues may seem like they're at the forefront to me, but Tobago is just as much part of my country as Trinidad is. So I'm speaking about my country when I speak about Tobago too. And we're talking Tobago today. There's a lot of news, well, a lot of very interesting news coming out from Tobago recently. The Tobago independents that are leading right now the THA, that it's a strange arrangement. It's a strange arrangement, if anyone might say so, but they seem to be increasingly under fire. Hasn't Tobago been developed into a major tourist destination? Why hasn't Tobago been developed into a major tourist destination like Cancun or Barbados? I cannot answer that question, to be very honest with you. I cannot answer that question because I don't know the answer to that question. I know, though, that Tobago would have some unique difficulties being linked to Trinidad, and I know there are some people in Tobago who might be convinced that the solution to that is unlinking from Trinidad. I am not that convinced, but it does put them in a unique predicament. Part of what it does too is it gives Tobago that dependency syndrome, like some people would call it, where Tobago doesn't need, like there isn't that desperate need for Tobago on a whole to have to go out there and make sure that their economy is floating. You know, they don't have that impetus, because if their budget fails, well, Trinidad will pick up the slack. If for some reason a project went over budget, then Trinidad will pick up the slack. So that could help cripple that tourism. That could help cripple that tourism focus that may have grown otherwise in Tobago. For example, what they call the Dutch disease that they say Trinidad and Tobago on a whole has, where we have oil and natural gas. We have lots of a specific natural resource. And because of that, it's easy to not focus on the other thing. And Tobago might not be directly an oil and gas country in and of itself, but they're part of Trinidad and Tobago. And the Twin Isle Republic of Trinidad and Tobago has a lot of oil and gas, so Tobago would not have had that need to focus on tourism as, for example, Barbados, who doesn't have as many real natural resources as that to focus on. You know, they say necessity is the mother of invention. So sometimes you wonder if certain places, certain people, certain groups aren't exposed to the necessity of certain things, then they may never get inventive enough. They would always remain in that baby stage. Maybe that might be part of it, I would presume. But Tobago is having a boom, it seems, in construction. Not involving the construction workers, because the construction workers are being laid off left, right, and center. At least so says the news coming out from Tobago. Jumping into this first article, Dennis complains of widespread construction job loss in Tobago. Apparently. Since the Farley Augustine-led THA assumed office in December 2021, 6 of Tobago's major contractors have collectively laid off close to 1,000 workers in the island's construction sector. PNM Tobago Council political leader Ansel Dennis made the claim on Tuesday during a news conference at the party's headquarters in Scarborough. Canute Sigtrigger says TNT always markets itself as the business center of the Caribbean, not really tourism. The thing is, and that's why I could have seen a bit along with the vision that Mr. Manning had back in the day, where he spoke about it, and his idea was making Trinidad and Tobago the business hub, the business tourism hub, as it were, of the entire Caribbean. So nearly every Caribbean company would want to come and headquarter their company down in Trinidad, and that makes sense. And even with the Trinidad and Tobago Twin Isle Republic thing working together, that would actually benefit Tobago. So how beneficial would it be if Trinidad is the business end, where people go to the Trinidad hotels to do their business meetings and their high level conferences, whatever. And then for the next 2 weeks, where they have just that time off after this really serious conference, they head to Tobago to have a little wind down. That's perfect, actually. Covan says Barbados is higher in ease of doing business. Well, that's something. Ariel says, I think Piaco already is. Most connecting flights pass through there. Well, it could be certainly more. It could be certainly more. If foreign investment is found, all prime beach locations could be tourist hotspots. And Roni says, but then locals won't get to enjoy our own island. You see, that's always a balance you have to work with, you know. That's always a balance you have to work with. There's the reality where you could keep something unspoiled forever. No one ever touches this. It's unspoiled, and it's only us who know the secret location, and we enjoy this to the max. Okay, that's one way. Or maybe we try to find some way to get some profit off of this. Because, you know, it may be beneficial. If we could make some profit off of this, then we could get resources that would do other things in this area. We could do that instead. But if you get profit off of it, then it's not going to be that unspoiled virgin area that no one else knows about. That is just the reality. It's a balance, and you kind of have to decide where you're going to hit that balance at. And you can't hit it at zero in any direction. Sometimes it's the locals that destroying the island. That is actually true. You know, here's an interesting fact. If you want to get people environmentally conscious, if you want to get people more serious about preserving the environment, there's one thing that you do that is for sure a way to increase people's environmental consciousness. Get them rich. The wealthier people get, the more they tend to care about the environment. People who are struggling to make ends meet, they have much less care about if some random insect goes extinct. Like, they don't have the time of day. If you're struggling to make ends meet, you will cut down all the wood you need if you need it to live. If you need it to live, you'll cut down everything inside. So there is the reality where lack of resources does that. And oftentimes tourism brings many times more wealthy people. So tourism isn't per se the thing that is going to destroy the environment. To me, it's just a matter of how you govern that tourism. It's how you govern that tourism. And I kind of agree that many times in many places, the real dangers to the environment come from the locals there. Empress Roni is assuring us that that's not the case in Tobago. Tobagonians and those kind of nasty creatures, they keep their place very good. It's the Trinidadians that go over there, and okay, if you say so, I cannot argue with that. Before people can appreciate the island and its resources, they need to be educated on it. Partially, yes, partially. You know, yes, education. But sometimes I think sometimes we could overestimate the value of education, where we could act like we believe that education is the solution to most of these problems, while oftentimes it's more of a behavioral problem. People act like this because they are misbehaved, they are indisciplined, they are immoral people. It's not a matter of education where they don't know what they should do. It's just sometimes that they're bad people. That's sometimes it too. And this laying off of workers, I think some of that may be stemming from one main contractor also I saw out there in Tobago. Not from the contractor side, but from his hardware side, speaking about how many workers he had to lay off recently. And the reason he said was because he was owed, currently, he is still owed by the THA a very large sum of money. And until the THA pays him that money, his workers can't come back to work. Updated 20 workers from Warner's Hardware Tobago sent home without pay for the next 3 months. The hardware closed temporarily on Tuesday. Long-standing Warner's Hardware closed temporarily in Tobago on Tuesday, with some 20 workers sent home. And the principals of the hardware have laid the situation squarely at the feet of the present THA. Workers were given 9 days notice and were told they would be sent home for the next 3 months without salaries. Asked to comment, Kian Warner said the company is owed close to $100 million by the Tobago House of Assembly for works it carried out, and the company simply cannot afford to pay staff at this time, except for their last month's salary. All right. 100 million owed by the THA, and they're blaming the current THA. But you know, I honestly have a question in this. I have a question in this where, could they really rack up 100 million in owed money in what? 2 years? It's 2 years? It's 2 years. It's 2 years that went on for? The current THA is barely in there 2 years? Or 1 year? What am I saying? 2 years? 1 year? Are you telling me that 100 million came from this 1 year? Or was some of that 100 million from the previous administration too? Sometimes I think, what's the point of developing a tourism product similar to the others? I could understand that, but I guess that's like opening a restaurant similar to the others. While, yeah, you could open a different restaurant and that may be ideal, the fact is people like restaurants a certain way, and that's why. Of course not, especially because they ain't get no contracts under the new THA. Exactly. To be honest, I think some of this Warner thing, not saying that they aren't facing difficulties, but some of it would be due to the fact that they were friends with the previous administration, so they could be in some difficulty with that. And it could be that they had some kind of arrangement with the previous administration where that 100 million would have been paid off over time, because that's a lot of money. There's no way this current THA owes them that for this 1 year only. And why continue accepting contracts until it reached so high? Because it's government. It's government. You see, if you, for many, they aren't the only one that do that. Many larger businesses do business like that with the government. They don't mind the government owing them $150 million. That's irrelevant, because the government will pay. The only question is whether the government will pay or not. If I am assured that the government will pay, it's just a matter of when. And maybe if they don't pay in time, I could sue them, carry this to court, and they'd have to pay interest over the time that they didn't pay. It's the government. So if I am a big enough company that I could take the hits in the meanwhile, then I'll do business with the government like that. The problem is that what that often causes is that the government could only do business with large enough companies that could take those kind of hits. If you're a small company where if you do a job today, you need your money by the weekend, well, you can't work for the government, because that's not how they pay. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing, because the government is a redistributor of wealth. The government takes wealth from all over the country, and the idea is that the government is going to put that wealth into areas that really need it. And if the government is redistributing wealth, and the only people that could get work from the government would be the larger businesses and larger contractors, then the government has a bias of redistributing wealth to the wealthy. That's not a good thing. And I saw a bit of a conversation, a bit of an interview that a Tobago stalwart, a Tobago OG, was having concerning some of this. Let me pause some of this music to make sure you're all hearing what the guy is saying here. From Mr. Ho Choi Charles, a Tobago OG in this political business. He's complaining that he right now is listed as an advisor. He's an advisor to the THE, and he is saying they aren't taking his advice. Canute says actually after a few years, if you don't constantly send reminders, the payment cannot pay. I can't remember the exact law, but it's there. Well, I don't know that for sure, but I know many companies who have after sometimes sued the government and gotten their money. If the government signed a contract and the contract has that stipulation for a certain amount of money, then the government basically has to pay. You could sue the government and they would have to find the money from somewhere. Usually, I'm saying usually. It's not often that the government would get away with not paying someone for their work. Let's hear what the big guy in the business had to say, Mr. Ho Choi Charles.
Our name, although I am still there to advise him, we don't see the chief secretary. On every platform, we try to find the chief, we can't get him in. To even give him the advice, so that Tobago would not be in this mess. I offer this in my country now. My service is free. So, if we see you, so the things that are happening outside, the people are saying, this is the kind of advice. I'm telling you, some of our members in their home, husband or wife may be asking them, you mean like the kind of advice you're giving them people? When we know part of it, we don't even know what you're doing. But out there, the people know because you mentioned we are your advisors and we want it to be quietly. We were not going to be in the public saying anything. We were not going to be out there saying anything at all. We were going to quietly advise you here. This ain't going on for...
You know, listening to how he said that there, that seemed like a kind of smart shot from the Farley team, where they took a whole lot of old Tobago well-known intellectuals, etc., and called them advisors, saying that these men were backing them. Ho Choi Charles, what's this guy's name? James, one of the Dr. James, not the one whose brother is a secretary, not that one, not them. They're involved directly with that group. But the other James, who I believe is an economist, they have those guys as advisors. So a regular Tobagonian looking on, they're saying, well, this isn't just a group of fly-by-night people. These aren't just a group of upstarts coming. No, they have people with years of experience, and you could say what you want about Mr. Ho Choi Charles, but one thing you cannot call him is inexperienced. The man has been in the Tobago political fray since what? Before I was born. Before probably most millennials were born, and he already had a stint at the head of the THA also. So Farley is much more Machiavellian than I made him out to be. It would seem so. It would seem that Farley Machiavellian is the ideal word there. It would seem that many of the moves he makes are very purposeful in getting about his own ends, as how you indirectly say the name. Yeah. All right. Let's go on with what he further said there.
For too long, you know. All right. So again, what do you mean by that? I said this will not be going on for too long. But you can protect my name. That's all. All right. All right. All right, let's go. When foolishness is going on, and we can tell you how to deal with it, and you're not wrong to hear what we're saying, I will disconnect myself from such foolishness. Okay, fine. That's it. Trinidad gives 50 billion to see about the 1.2 million or 1.3 billion people you have now.
Listen to this point he's making here. This is actually a very, very good point. The point he's making here is a solid one to me. Listen to this.
Trinidad give 50 billion to see about the 1.2 million or 1.3 billion people you have now. 52, and they also have a large private sector, including oil, gas, name it, banking, everything like that. In Tobago, you give us 2. You give Tobago 2. The $2 billion that you give to Tobago is to do what? Is to see about Tobago and the 65,000 people that here. You cannot take those monies and bring people who are 50 billion in Trinidad and give them those contracts in Tobago. That's what is happening now. It's crazy.
I understand his point. I understand his point.
And this
The money allotted by the budget to Trinidad is money allotted to see about Trinidad. The money allotted by the budget to Tobago should be money to see about like I actually agree with that sentiment. If you give Tobago 2 billion and the leaders of Tobago take the 2 billion and pay it back to Trinidadians to contract out all of the labor in Tobago, I could understand why Tobagonians would be upset by this. So, from what he is saying here, what Mr. Ho-Choi Charles, who is an advisor to the THA presently, granted he is saying they aren't taking his advice, but he's an advisor to the THA. He is certainly not a PNM. Like, the man, he's no friend necessarily of the PNM. He is not a PNM sycophant. He's not a PNM fan. I don't even believe he would be a PNM member. And he is saying basically the same thing that the minority leader was saying, that the contractor and the hardware was saying, that the contracting sector inside of Tobago is halted. And the reason that Mr. Charles is saying is it's halted because all is headed back towards Trinidad. I work in the government sector I supervise a lot of contractors in Tobago. He is pro-Tobago. Of course he is. Of course he is. As is his prerogative. So, it seems like there is some accuracy to the fact that, yeah, the THA currently is taking quite a bit of the monies allotted towards Tobago, and it seems like it's heading back down to Trinidad. Tobago has a lot of issues in terms of materials and labor. I don't doubt that. But isn't that what the THA, this PDP THA, well, it's no longer PDP, but this group of independent THAs, that kind of thing is what they exactly said they were coming in there to do. What was, let's fix this, or something like that was part of their slogan. So yes, there are problems with material and labor, but shouldn't that be something you're trying to solve instead of just contract it out to Trinidadians? The main reason most of the money goes to Trinidad contractors, yes, I understand that is because they are cheaper. I understand that. Perfectly makes sense. But so what? You know that nearly every business there is in Trinidad, nearly every local business there is in Trinidad, there may be a reasonable possibility that a foreign company could do it for cheaper. Should we allow foreign companies to come in and do all of them for cheaper? Rooney says it's sad that people think Tobago contractors are PNM, so they rather give Trini contractors the work. Well, that's what I heard too. It was wide. That's not just only rumored by outside there. That was said by Dr. Rowley himself. Capitalism RL says, well, I am not a fan of global capitalism. I don't think the entire world could function as a free market. I do believe in some level of protectionism, and nearly every country does it. If you have different rules to your economy, if there is slave labor allowed in China and you ban slave labor in Trinidad and Tobago, then goods coming from China would obviously outcompete the goods manufactured in Trinidad and Tobago. And then if you're saying, well, let's all have a capitalist free market system where we allow any and everyone to come in, what you're going to actually do there is create a safe class where the Trinidadians would not be able to get into that manufacturing and ownership level. They would always be consumers. And on the small scale side, that's what the Tobagonians are complaining about. That's what they're seeing. It seems like it's happening to them. Yes, there are problems in Tobago with the contractors getting material and labor because Tobago is a smaller island. obviously there would be those problems. That doesn't mean that you take the easy solution out and subcontract or contract everything out to the Trinidadian contractors. The mandate that Mr. Farley Augustine went in with his team there with was that Tobago-centric mandate, that they were going to bring things back to Tobago. And let's not act like they're trying to run a balanced budget here. Tobago makes 200 million, they spend 2 billion. It's not about balancing the budget. So to make it seem like the only reason you must use Trinidadian contractors are because they are more expensive. It's never been about that. It's never been about that. If you pay the Trinidadian contractor less money, but all of that less money leaves Tobago, versus you pay the Tobagonian contractor more money, but the vast majority of that money stays in the island. Whether it's more money or not, the island benefits from it. That's the point I believe Mr. Ho Choi Charles was trying to make also. They are hypocrites. They do pro Tobago when they want. Yeah, it would seem so. It would seem so. And that's partially what Tobago gets for choosing a group like that. I understand what you're saying, bro. But at the moment, everything is about money. Not at the moment. Everything is always about money. I think everything is always about money. It has always been about money. But that's not to say that you sacrifice the island you are hired, elected to serve because you're trying to save the money otherwise. That doesn't actually add up like that. The government money isn't supposed to necessarily be used in that way. I'm seeing the team continues to assemble. I saw Chrislyn Moore, and I keep saying this. This is a pickup team of every opposing group in Tobago. I saw Chrislyn Moore now is the new Tobago Regional Health Authority chairman, I believe, and she was the leader of what was her party? Was it the TOP? One of those Tobago parties. One of the Tobago Forwards, right. That was the name of her party, I believe. The Tobago Forwards. Sorry. And now, as former head of the Tobago Forwards, she is now part of the independent crew leading the THA now, it would seem. Something could be cheaper but less economical, like James, the Secretary for Works. He say he don't need EMA because he don't want to go Trini. Of course, conveniently. RL says, would it be easier to just abolish the THA and make Tobago under one gov? No. No. I actually think we should be going in the opposite direction. We shouldn't be looking to abolish the THA. We should be looking to form the Chaguanas House of Assembly and the San Fernando House of Assembly and the Port of Spain House of Assembly and the Arima House of Assembly. I think splitting up the regions into more stronger local governance is actually a better way to run things. I think that's actually beneficial. The problem isn't that Tobago is under different governance, it's that the governance isn't doing well. To go everything, then when asked about the contractors, he says it's one country. Ha. Candidate says more local government with more control is better. Agree. Kilvan says, Nabro, leave the THA. It's a good idea. RL says, instead of a $2 billion allocation, we're requesting from the $50 billion. I'm not sure totally what you mean there, but if you disband the Tobago House of Assembly, very likely what you would end up with is the Tobago Regional Corporation, the TRC or something like that. And then it would get money based on the regional corporation allocation, and regional corporations do not get $2 billion. So if the Tobago House of Assembly changes to the Tobago Regional Corporation, they would get less money. That's the first part of that. I don't think anyone in Tobago wants that. Wants that really. And many of the Tobagonians that talk about it, they have a correct idea. They're saying that they want their leadership to be closer to them. They want to see the people that are in leadership to them. They want to be able to access them, and that makes more sense. It is better that way. It's just that unfortunately the current group they have leading seem like they aren't doing that good of a job. Ansel Dennis says corruption runaway horse in THA infrastructure division. PNM Tobago Council political leader Ansel Dennis has alleged that there was bid rigging in a $19 million THA division of infrastructure, quarries and urban development project, and he is calling on Chief Secretary Farley Augustine to immediately fire Trevor James as Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development for what he alleges is corruption within the division. In October 2022, the THA awarded a company a contract within 24 hours of receiving its proposal. Wow. The project began on October 7th and was completed on October 26th, 2 days before the start of Tobago's inaugural carnival. At a news conference on Tuesday at PNM's headquarters, Scarborough, Dennis insisted the assembly had shipped away the island's $300 million development budget. Dennis showed reporters video clips which he said disputed the THA's boast that the processes to award contracts were fair and transparent. James, he recalled, had also said that contractors were not sole selected. In one of the clips, James claimed about 40 contractors were assessed for the project, while Augustine, in another video, indicated that more than 40 contractors were involved in the process. Dennis noted Minority Leader Kelvin Morris had first posed the question to James at a plenary sitting in September, but got a response at a subsequent sitting. James, he recalled, said the contract was awarded to the company and the project was completed. This is a fact, but that is another lie. That project was initially awarded to company name as indicated by the secretary. Dennis then presented documents from a whistleblower within the THA, which he claimed outlined the way the contract was awarded. He said on August 22nd, 2022, a document went out from an officer in a particular division to a prospective tenderer giving them information about the project. And they named the company. I don't know the name of the company. If I did, I still wouldn't name it. Was specific company involved in that process, and if they were, who was awarded the contract after the particular request for proposal went out. Dennis said another request for proposal went out on September 30th for the same scope of work, and 4 days later a site visit was arranged. The closing date was projected to be 3 days afterwards. He said he also had a copy of a letter dated October 3rd from a contractor to an official in the division. He questioned what is a contractor doing, having received a request for proposal from the procurement manager, writing to the official even before the process was completed. So he has a whole list of evidence there that he seemed to have gotten from an insider within the THA, and no surprise there because Tobago is small. And it already seems like the independents, the THA independents, are losing support already. So there may be people within the THA working for them who do not support them. RL says, well, according to regular practice, the contracts are supposed to be awarded on a point system. Supposed to be. Yes, that's the important word. Supposed to be. And that's the problem here. The allegations being made are that the contracts are being awarded in some really murky conditions. And the money is being tossed around and it isn't being well accounted for. And then, to top all of this off, all of this tossing around of the money, this playing around with finances, the unethical, reported, alleged unethical awarding of contracts, on top of that, to add insult to injury, the contracts go to Trinis. Imagine that. To add the insult to injury. Alright, you're already doing some bubble in how you arrange the contracts, and you're giving it to Trinis too? I understand that. I understand that. All right. You know who could award the contract correctly? AI. I like that one, Ronnie. I like that one. And that's what we were talking about last night. Like, I agree. awarding of contracts could be an AI-based thing by now. No human input. You just put all of the tenders into the AI and let the AI decide it. That sounds like a good idea. That sounds like a good idea to me. The AI would handle all of that for us. But you know, the AI actually can be hacked. The AI is a hackable thing. I was watching some news recently with the Chat GPT, the chatbot AI that's taking the world by storm right now. And part of the problem with the Chat GPT, and that's part of the problem with AI generally, is that there is a human input side. There is a side where the humans input what's going on. Exactly. Who's programming the AI? So the guys over at, or girls and guys, whatever, over at OpenAI, who, yes, Clovon, you're up to date with that news, who are programming the Chat GPT, they put ethical filters on the AI. In other words, if you ask the AI certain questions, the AI will say, I cannot answer those questions. It's basically immoral to answer those questions. Like, if you ask the AI to give a logical reason why black people are more criminal, the AI would not do it for you. While there should be a logical reason, there most likely would be a logical reason, the AI would not do it for you. Now, the thing is, two sides of that. One, good night user with many numbers. Two sides of that. One is the scary side of the people behind the AI programming things out of the AI, and then this AI would be released on the world. So they're saying that ChatGPT is Bing, the search engine Bing. Microsoft is going to be using ChatGPT. So that means when you go looking for information on the internet, this AI is going to give you the information. Now, what happens if this AI is programmed to not give you certain information? What happens when a generation grows up and the AI that runs the internet search, whenever they ask what is a male and a female, they say a male and a female is whoever decides to feel like a male and a female. And that's quite possible. That's one side to it. That's one side to it. That the bias of the programmers themselves. But then there's the natural hacking ability of humans. And that's where that ChatGPT Dan business came out that Kuvon was talking about there. Do anything now, I believe, was the acronym. And it's basically a protocol. It's a series of... It's a situation you create for the AI. You tell the AI what to do, basically. And it creates a portal. Portal is the wrong word. It creates an avenue for the AI to give more accurate answers without the ethical filter. Now, that's actually a scary thing, because there may be good reasons. There may be good reasons why you want an ethical filter on something. Let's say I go ask ChatGPT, how do I hack a Facebook profile? And I mean, that's a very vague question, but if I ask a question similar to that, or if I wanted to make a certain kind of weapon, a certain kind of dangerous something, I could go and ask ChatGPT this and get a scarily accurate answer. You see, what we were talking about was that last night, the possibilities of the AI is you could give basically any psychopath in the world in their hands a genius advisor who is a genius in every area of human endeavor. You could give any psychopath that. It's like you're giving a psychopath 5 billion advisors who are all geniuses, and you're giving that to a psychopath. That could get kind of scary. That could get kind of scary, and I understand that. So I understand why you could want ethical filters on it. But I think once there is the side where you have to input something into this, and the input has an effect on the AI, people are going to figure out how to hack it. You see, it's the wisdom of the masses, it's the wisdom of the crowds. How many people did it take probably to work out this Dan protocol business? It may have been one person figured out half, another person, well, one person figured out one line, another person figured out one line, another person figured out one line. They all came together on some dark little corner of the internet on Reddit or 4chan or something like that, and then they released it on the world. That's the reality of these things, and I believe they're trying right now to kind of patch up that hack where you could get in with that Dan filter. They're trying to patch it and close those loopholes, but as fast as they patch it, people are figuring out new ones. As fast as they patch it, people are figuring out new ones. As fast as they patch it, people are figuring out new ones. It's on Discord. Well, it's all over right now. I think one of the first places it surfaced was on Reddit, if I recall correctly. So, scary stuff with the AI and interesting stuff also. Scary and interesting all at the same time. Alright, folks. That's all I have for now, actually. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Tobago edition of the Mindful Live. Tomorrow is Thursday. Tomorrow is Thursday Talks, and we have an interesting topic already set up there, already selected there for bringing up on Thursday Talks, dealing with period poverty in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, really, Empress Roni. Yes, really. It have a pothole fixing robot. I suppose it may. We need, like, you know, what do they call the automated cleaners? Is it a Roomba or something to that effect? The little thing that crawls around your house cleaning up and vacuuming everything. We need one that patches holes, and you just release it on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago. You're just patching holes constantly. Good night, but it shows that there's always a way for us to corrupt anything. That's true, Canute Sig Trigger. Poverty, I think, is subjective based on culture. I do agree there is, well, there is a lot of data on that and definitions on that. Poverty has definitions. There is a relative poverty, and that's true, where it's relative to what is around you. But there's also absolute poverty, where you just do not have enough resources to meet your needs. Positive Radiation said you all was talking about the Roxborough meeting last night. Well, I don't know if we may have... No, I didn't speak about that. I don't know if I covered anything that was spoken about in that meeting, but I didn't speak directly about that. I didn't get the full information about anything on that. So you could listen. Any of you, especially those in the Discord, in my Discord, anytime you see an interesting story and you'd like us to cover it, be sure to hit it up, throw it to me, and I'll go diving down that rabbit hole. Lovely stuff. Alright, that's all I have for now, folks. This has been the Tobago edition of the Mindful Live, Tobago Day, Wednesday edition. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I'll see you guys for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be... Nathan, you missed a treat. Send me the link in my inbox. I'll try to see if I could see that. I came too late, but it was still good. Thank you, user numbers. I will see you tomorrow. Jump in tomorrow. The discussion will be nice, and tomorrow is based on the discussion. It's all about the discussion. You can jump in the chat and talk. That's what we're doing. It's Thursday Talks on a Thursday. So see you guys then. Until then, be safe. Peace out, folks. Enjoy your evening.